Okay. Oops. There we are. Okay, now we're online. Good evening, everybody out there. Had to put everything back together. But I did. Had to do a little maintenance. You know how that goes. You guys doing okay today? Hopefully you are. I found out something confirmed today that I know you guys don't want to hear it again, but please make sure that your systems are backed up. Can you do that? Last warning. Make sure your systems are backed up. If you don't know how to do that, I would advise that you get with somebody in COT who knows how to save your pictures and all that good stuff in your devices. Yet again, we have another attempt coming, another mishap. And, they have their cover stories. And we have our insights. So, you have been notified. And I hope you guys it's sad when people lose data. It is. It's kind of sad. People lose their pictures and things like that. I don't keep pictures, by the way. Well, I can't say that. I can't say it. In the last 5 years, I think I've accumulated 6 pictures. That's a record for me. It really is. But people are trying things, right? Benjamin Netanyahu is not in Israel. And you guys do understand what that means. Right now, the chatter is so incredibly high among opposing forces to Israel. It is straight out of the book. It's almost like it's right out of the book of Daniel. Like these guys really have a desire to have some sort of full-on attack. The unknown element in that are defenses, right? And so they've been gathering intel on everybody's defenses. When they have it, they will act without hesitation. They really don't care about death, right? Just like, in our faith, we don't care who looks at us strange when we render help to somebody else. In their case, they don't care what people think about their tactics. They're willing to die. Keep that in mind. They're willing to die. It's probably why I think that big crowds are not a good idea. They're just not. And while our government is somewhat unstable, I believe they'll take full advantage of that one. I believe they will. Now, I'm going to deviate just a little bit today, if you guys don't mind. Today is a different day. I'm on standby a little bit. I really am. And if things happen to get worse, I will be coming on at midnight. I will. I say that because things are volatile. We really are. Very unstable. And bad people will take advantage of it. And keep in mind, darkness, a dark kingdom, is really coordinating, getting things together to rise. All right? So that means very soon. I personally believe that the window of time that we've been living all these years is closing. And a brand new dawn. We will see it. We will. We'll see it. But darkness is rising. Are you guys familiar? Because we are in this, this political conundrum that we have. Are you guys familiar with the declarations of evil during these days? Are you familiar with how evil is going to be presented? Are you well acquainted with the reaction of people according to the Word of God? Because it looks like people are primed right now to respond to that, right? They are. Look at the Harris and Kelly ticket, right? It'll be a Harris and Kelly ticket. That sounds, I suspect that's what that's going to be. I'll put it that way. And, of course, the Trump and Vance ticket. Now, while they have their cases to lay out before the USA, other countries are beginning to feel the tactical squeeze. See, they still have to position for a great war, great war, and it will be a long durational war. It's not going to start with all of a sudden, right? It will begin with some surprise attacks. Be ready for that, please. Right now is a good time to be prepared for that mentally, by way of your soul. Right? Settle some things in your hearts as soon as possible. Leave nothing to chance and go forward. Because these guys are planning for real. They really are. And when the USA is hit back to back with we have 6 storms in the making that are for the USA, right? Right now, six patterns that are quite familiar. Given the some of the conditions of the earth right now, these are going to be quite hefty. All right, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be a rainmaker. More rains are coming. Even right now, today, more rains are coming, overcast, things like that. But the rain is going to begin to build. There will possibly be about 4 derechos that will rip through the country. That'll take about a week for them to get, to really get through. But one of the main things I want to talk to you guys about is some brand new. There are some instabilities. Not dealing with Yellowstone. It has nothing to do with Yellowstone. Okay, zero to do with Yellowstone. But there are geological problems on the West Coast as we speak. Now, to what extent? I don't think anybody knows yet. I really don't. But I suspect people are going to be in trouble in areas of the West really soon. And it's not, it's very difficult to predict this, to predict, any type of calamity dealing with geology on the West Coast. That's very difficult because it's very difficult to really map out all the interactions of the crust of the earth and the elements inside the earth, right? But I will say Washington State, right? When you start going up towards that area, into Canadian waters, it is and near Alaska, places like that, it's very volatile, very active. And it's only a matter of time before some of those forces actually begin to breach the surface. There are notable changes of temperature on the seafloor around those places. Differences of salinity. All of a sudden, current changes, right? All these things are happening all at once. And in fact, they've been happening in the last 24 hours. I would say 26 hours. So something deep within the earth is causing these topical changes. Not tropical, topical changes. There are lots of volcanoes or potential exit ports on the West Coast where these conditions, these degrading conditions, could actually begin to breach the surface. And again, you can forget a warning. When you hear the sirens, you're going to have about, if something were to ever happen, you guys hear those sirens, there's no warning. You're going to have about, 6 minutes? 6 minutes before full breach of the land territory. I'm talking this way because there was a simulation done about, multiple simulations done. And it looks like a 3-way crack will form on the West Coast. I hate to sound like it's absolute, like it's really going to happen that way, but it more than likely will happen that way. It will. But the main thing to remember is this. The entire earth right now is having these, changes. Right? I believe they go hand in hand with the iniquity of mankind. That's according to Scripture. I do believe in the Scriptures. I can see the truth of how one would be linked to the other. In fact, we are also linked, not like the tree huggers say. No, not like that. But we're linked by way of our authority and God's intervention wherever we are. That is bound to change the geology, wherever you go. Which is why it's good to have your eyes opened. Right? So all those things you guys thought about back in the day, in 2009, it's a good time to kind of revisit some of the potentials, right? To be ready to be mobile, to understand that communications are not, they probably will not hold up. They won't. Because you have evil people involved who will gladly sabotage whatever they need to sabotage. They will. Strange things are happening. It's kind of like that small neighborhood where the people were inside their apartments. And the police and other personnel boarded up the windows with the people inside. Can you believe that? Can you say outbreak? They wouldn't let those people out. That happened in the USA. I'm not going to mention the city, but it's close to water. And it's one of the older, well-known cities in America. But it happened, right? And then it almost took place again. The same thing. We live in degrading times. But it's also a wonderful opportunity for every single believer out there. This is your one-time chance to step right into the spiritual things of life, to no longer be blind, to be able to see. That's a wonderful thing. To be able to hear, right? It truly is. What a time we live in. So, listen, I'm going to take some of you guys' questions tonight as I interject in certain things that are happening right now. I want you guys aware of that. Never panic over anything that you hear, but always seek to dig deeper in the Word of God to make sure that you're well acquainted with the real prophecies, not these word-of-mouth prophecies, right? But the real ones, the ones that are, relevant to your lives. There's so much to cover. It really is. There's no way we can do that one day. But we can start by securing you. So hopefully you guys are secured as best you can be. Ready with your eyes opened as best you can open them. Be alert and aware. Please be alert and aware. All right, guys, I'm going to take a small break, set up some more things, get some more nets online. I'll be back. And I want you guys to have some questions, please. Somebody said, Mike, my son is in the military as a reservist. What should my prayers be specifically for him? You know what? I would advise all of you, when you have children overseas, have an understanding of something. Or when they're deployed, whatever happens. Understand that your Father in heaven, his hand is upon people out there, right? When we do pray, we can compliment the good that he's already doing, right? But just make sure you're not coming up with a solution that may be opposite of what the Lord's plan is for that person's life. There are a lot of cases due to activities that surround soldiers, many who others thought impossible. You know, there are certain people you think sometimes you may think it's impossible for that guy to be saved or this person over here to be saved. But then in the armed services, many different things take place. And all too often, the youth are utilized to reinforce the idea of the Father. But more importantly, it causes people to bond closer because they know nothing is guaranteed by way of their lives. And livelihood is not guaranteed for tomorrow because it's not guaranteed. It would be foolish for us to take, advantage of that. We have no promise of tomorrow. We don't. But we can maximize this day. We can. No soldier has a promise of tomorrow, but the Lord often uses soldiers for the sakes of others. They go into places where people are very difficult to work with, right? Based upon how they serve and certain things they do, people have really, they serve as an example of many different attributes that people aspire to have. And you see that almost every day in the armed services. And given the situations, they face all the time, there's a great amount of uncertainty, right? You never really know what the Lord is doing. So when you pray for your children out there, be very sincere. But try not to pray by way of a solution, right? But more of God's grace and mercy upon that soldier as he grows. Because when these young men and women serve, they change, they grow, they mature, they learn things, right? They defend the nation. They do. They defend our nation. And sometimes what the Lord has planned for them wouldn't exactly be what we would want to go through. And I give you this because there have been so many times when I went through things, and at first it looked like, why in the world did I go through that? But then in hindsight, you find out God was strengthening me. The Lord will use his creation to strengthen his children at any given time. And there's always good in his plan, right? For those you would have a heart toward in most cases, right? So remember that. But sometimes people pray and they say they pray for a solution or something they want. They want God to come down and to grant their wishes according to their insight, according to their wisdom, their knowledge. We simply don't have enough knowledge. We can't see all the components working together. And often we think somebody needs freedom, and we may pray for that, but in fact they won't be in bondage. There's no bondage in some of these situations. But they too have to grow. God will use them, right? He will. He will. So remember that. Pray that your Father in heaven remember the mercy he bestowed upon us to extend it to those who are in harm's way. And as you do remember your children who are serving, remember what they're fighting for. They're not fighting so people can be radical. No. Remember that. I'll be back in a few minutes to take your questions. I'm going to get these nets online. They're not quite online yet. Today, a lot of internet drops have happened. The weather is, doing some bad stuff to equipment. It really is. And so I'm going to try and get the rest of these nets online. I'll come back to answer some questions with you guys. And again, I'm watching something even right now, so it will not be a long broadcast, but you'll likely hear from me again at the midnight hour. But I'm coming back. I'm just taking a break. I'll be right back in a few minutes right here at COT, everybody. Right here. Okay, I think we got that set up pretty good. Hopefully it maintains. It may not. Not my fault. All right, guys, let's go right into some questions here. Hopefully you guys are not nervous about Yellowstone, although I would say this, right? That thing, right, and operates by heat, by the way, which comes from primarily down right below it. And those giant vats of magma, and one day they're going to breach big time. Although Yellowstone is one of the babies in the world, very tiny compared to some of the monsters in the world. And Italy is sitting at ground zero. They really are. Okay, first question. What do we have here? One of the admins can take care of that. One of the moderators can take care of that, guys, to add you to that prayer list. Let's see, what do we have there? Anybody? Anybody? Any thoughts on the jealousy of the Lord? Sure. Sure. God's jealousy is not our jealousy. Man has described man's jealousy, right? God's jealousy is not like ours. Everything about us is like a baby. So imagine God's jealousy as perfect in this way, that he can see all truth and all lies. So that if he is jealous, he already told us what that meant. God being jealous means he's very attentive to us. You know that, right? Very attentive. That's why in that same, in the Ten Commandments, right at the end, he says he's a jealous God who visits the iniquity upon the, third and fourth generation of them that hate him. He will visit that. Why? He created all of them. Imagine if you created everything in your house. You went to turn on your stove and it refuses to do so. Like it's full of AI and it does not want to cooperate. Well, guess what? It's no good. It's no good for anything if it cannot perform what it's supposed to perform. Hopefully that helps. So God's jealousy is pure. It's very pure. And it's nothing like ours. Neither is his anger. Our anger is mixed with lots of darkness. It is. Darkness or misplaced. This protective type mindset that we get ourselves in for some odd reason. And we deem ourselves be correct when we get angry, when we get jealous and things like that. We're not. We're not. So now you know. Next question. What do we have there? Let me see what that is. Let me go back. So I said, should we be watching for... I lost that quick. Should we be watching for the Cascadia subduction zone or maybe an eruption here in Washington State soon? Listen, I can only tell you what I am basing from lots of intel, as you could say. I most certainly would expect something to go haywire, right? Along those lines. That would further isolate the USA, Europe, and France. All right, let's see. So the Washington State is it's one of those watch areas. You guys have a lot of dormant volcanoes there, which essentially means you have a lot of exit points for magma. And they're coming back to life. This entire Earth at some point is going to be, volcanism will cover it. It'll cover the Earth. All right. Next one. I don't know why this thing gets, Mixler will get stuck in one position and it refuses to move. Let me say, hold on, guys. Let me scroll down here. If I can actually get it back there again. There we go. Somebody says, explain being cast into outer darkness versus being cast into hell. First of all, I think outer darkness is a place, is a statement used in the Gnostic writings. A place of coldness. In fact, it goes along with the dragon, believe it or not. In fact, if you read that correctly, you'd find out that the sun is holding back something. But one day the sun the sun is going to skip a beat? Good question, by the way. On this earth right now, the sun provides us the warmth of the day. It provides us the storms we see. Do you know what would happen without the sun in less than 24 hours? Anybody? We couldn't survive the breath of the dragon. Imagine that. That's what certain passages insinuate. There's a dragon whose tail is in his mouth, occupied. If the sun were to ever not shine upon the earth, the dragon would overtake the earth. The sun is an element that holds back the dragon. Somebody, Gracie Rose. The sun is an element that drives back the breath of the dragon. Right? Instantly. Because have we had times here on this earth where things instantly froze? Yes. In that same era, was something happening with the sun? Yes. Yes. These are in the same area. What that scripture talking about, outer darkness. It's quite simple, really. Outer darkness is a permanent place of occupation. We see what was happening there, guys. Somebody said, what? How much time do we approximately have? No one approximately knows. Is it even worth to go after a university degree? Yes. Yes. Look, just because we know a prophecy, we know at some point everything is going to burn up, right? You don't stop living your life. The reason you live your life is you fight the good fight of faith. As you live your life, you're introduced to people, concepts, things, all of which are a challenge, right? They are a challenge. And it's a good gauge to let you know where you are. Life reveals a truth to us. It lets us know exactly where we are with the Lord. There are lots of components, lots of entities that work within people, right? It's important that you face those entities, not run away from them, so that you know who you are, so that you know what your weaknesses are, so that you know what you need to pray about. And then instead of not thinking in terms like that, right, absolutely face everything. Learn to develop the measure of faith the Lord gave you. When you face adversity, not one believer should be shaken. And you would not be shaken if you had total confidence in Christ. But let's go ahead and face the truth. We do not have absolute confidence in Christ, do we? Do we? We don't. If we did, well, there goes the backup plan. How many people have a backup plan? I don't have one, and I never have, because I'm not chasing anything. I'm allowing the Lord in His timing to reveal things to me. I don't chase it, and He does. He does in many different ways. There are often times you'll find yourself in life, you go to a brand new place, nobody knows you. But then the same exact insults are hurled in your direction. That is spiritual. Right? When you fight the good fight of faith, it effectively dethrones darkness. It does. Darkness becomes of no consequence to you. None. We have work to do. We do. Work to do. Hopefully that helps, right? Hopefully that helps. In the Bible it says, occupy until He comes, right? Occupy does not mean to, think up your own things, etc. No, continue to grow in the Lord and truth. Right? There still is another step. Do you all know that? Salvation is one step. There's another. There's another step which will enhance what the Lord has within you. And do you guys remember that dream about the island? Do you guys remember that? I believe that's happening right now. I do. I believe that is happening right now. I know certain people are stranded here on this earth today. Left behind. Neglected. Looked over. Right? Sometimes we feel we are like that. But if you're utilizing your measure of faith, it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's not. See, can I elaborate on who's building the retaining walls? All those who were notified. A notification went out with a caution to have certain things in place before winter of 2024. That went out to those who can afford to do it. That's who it went to. So lots of people within the USA. Lots. Now, these are the same individuals who already have bunker-type adaptations or these constructed sites in their backyards. The ones with security fences. Those people. Often. Too often. Conditions rise in the world, and those who think they matter, those who really contribute to the systems of this world, have not been duly notified of things. And so now they're changing that. From the president down, they gave notification to have all their stuff in order prior to the winter of 2024. These people have protected areas underground that they have built for themselves. But that area is not going to do anything without a wall. You have to have a wall to truly protect yourselves. That works for more than people. Right? Also, as I tried to explain yesterday, if you, let's say, for example, NASA detects or JPL detects a near-Earth asteroid, but in case of whizzing by us, it's about to head right into the heart of us. And let's say it's only 50 feet in diameter. That's traveling at about, I don't know, what's a good number? Traveling at about 80, 90 miles an hour. I personally think these folks who have these retaining walls, they're doing just what Revelation said they would do. Building those places where they can go hide. But see, something has already happened, guys. Can you please look around at all this election stuff and tell me it does not look like a Hollywood movie? Let's get to another one. Oh, there goes Mixler. Mixler is just a freezing something. Somebody said a pop is this what? Not going to hit us in 2029, but I think they're lying. Well, they don't, listen, they don't know. 2029 is a long way away, right? Apophis has too many unknowns it could bump into. For example, Apophis could change course if it went right through dust. If it went through 2 days of small, tiny debris, right, that we're talking about dust, do you not know it could alter the trajectory of Apophis, thus changing what area of the earth it will impact? That's up to our Father. Personally, I'm not worried about Apophis. We have more immediate issues, right? We do. More immediate issues. And we know what the Bible says about things coming upon the earth. We do. So when it comes to Apophis, I'm not really, that doesn't capture my attention due to the scope of what we now face. If somebody says, hold on, COT, I'm going to get you guys in a moment, too. I said, what? Did they throw their governor under the bus? Yeah, they did. Let me see. Mara. Chimeras are real. They are. And mankind will always tamper with things outside of the public's view. If man can build something, right, and somebody watches that, they're going to be inspired to do the same thing. They will. Chances are they'll succeed. All right. I'm going to go to COT real quick. Somebody said, I know POTUS is scheduled to speak, but never saw this before. You guys already have my opinion concerning POTUS, right? You guys know my opinion concerning this whole issue, right? So far, so good. So far, so good. He's had 50 years. Joe Biden has had 50 years of service. They will attempt to honor that, right? They will. To show compassion. Now, keep in mind, he has no ability sometimes to articulate his own compassion, but that's no big deal. No, it's not normal. It isn't. Unless, one of them is super fatigued, tired, or something along those lines. All right. Let me go back to, let's see. What's that? Is CO2 disappearing in ocean water? That's going through its natural processes, although there are some gases being released from the bottom of the ocean due to sheer volcanism all over the earth. Most of the volcanoes are located underwater. Most of the very dangerous ones underneath the water. For example, if one of those with the force, tornado that came from some of these swirling episodes in the ocean, they would be relentless. Animals would follow suit. All out bad situation. Penguins would change their day. They would. And all these changes due to take effect are meant for one purpose. Do you guys know what that is? Anybody? Anybody know why? These things are for the three. That dam in China, will it break? Well, they're having issues and problems. That depends on the mercy of our Father. It does. Hopefully, we're not sitting around waiting for it to fall, right? Hoping people come to their senses, get out of the way. Let's go down a little bit. The plagues you were talking about yesterday, something we haven't been told about? No, you've not been told about this. Let me give you a hint. How many hunters do we have in COT? People who go out who have hunted before. How many people go out into the wilderness? Quite a bit. I'll let the cat out the bag. How many? Anybody? Anybody ever go out to the wilderness to hunt? Have you ever heard of, have you ever seen a zombie deer? And have you guys seen a zombie deer? When you get a chance, look it up. Look at the video. Don't look at the picture. Look at the actual video of these deer. You guys ever hear that? You guys ever see the activity of one of those things? Someone says, I've heard of it. Good. Might want to familiarize yourself with that disease. Anyway, imagine that same condition jumping to humans. And the conditions can last for a year before the person is dead. Well, now you guys know. Yeah, there's some pretty horrific videos out there, those zombie deers. Take a look. Take a look. All right. Back to, let's see where we're at. Let me get my mouse, guys, here. You guys are advanced with touch stuff. I have to touch this mouse to get everything to correspond correctly. The stone steps happen. Thoughts on when we get hit in the East Coast. Listen, those are not, all that came from a dream, right? Just a dream. A dream that I'm not the author of that dream. I'm not. But the country and the people, they're suppressing their malice towards the opposing parties for the most part. One day they won't have to do that. They won't. My question is, in that moment, who will you guys be? When plagues start sweeping through the earth, who will you be? When things are not going the direction they thought they would go, who will you be? That's my question. As far as an approximation on when the next thing will happen, it can be immediate. Right? It could be a long time. It could be never. But it causes me to be very attentive to certain Middle Eastern conversations. That it does. No, not bird flu. The zombie deers. Look that up. Have you guys seen them? Those conditions in a deer can last for some time. The outcome is always fatal. There's another something happened. You see, let me go back here. Let's see, in your midnight dream about North Carolina, setting able to discern the season of the year. You know, most of those, two things happen in those dreams and all the time since I was small. There's hardly anybody left on the planet. It's very quiet. No children, no birds. In fact, I didn't see not one animal. Not one. But you do hear the sayings of many. You do hear the sayings of many. An ongoing wailing. Not good. Not good at all. I would say, due to the, because of how the trees looked and because of how it felt, the crisp air, it seems to be that most of these settings happen around the fall, except when people start that year of endurance, right? Those who must endure. Those who have to give it an extra effort to comprehend the smallest word says, so they can get it right. They have to labor with the truth and then live in that truth. But the fall seems to be one of those telltale signature times when these things take place. The aftermath is always seen in the summer when it's hot. Leaves are folded up on the... One thing I noticed, and I used to tell Angela this, I said, listen, and this was a time when the conditions in the summer were nothing like what they are now. But I told her, I said, soon, in the summertime, the leaves will begin to withdraw themselves as though winter's coming. But it will be in the summertime. The grass will be still there, but parched, dried up. Despite any rain or anything that comes, and childbirth will decrease rapidly, exponentially. Something will happen to almost stop childbirth, period. I can still remember the people that they were in their apartments. It was anyway. Yeah, let's continue. Let's see. Oh, I missed that one. That one looked like a good one. Wait a minute. Let me go back. Why would we want to be near the person because of contagious reptiles? No. If a family member, you'd be near them, they would be in a hospital. Somebody says, why wouldn't we want to be near the person because of a contagious or rabies style? If it's a family member, we will be near them, but they would be in a hospital. Well, not with this, you wouldn't. That zombie disease that causes the eyes of the deer to essentially glaze over, causes them to do mindless things, to twitch, their bones arc and stretch in the wrong direction. Can you imagine a human being like that? Not to mention, it's going to be highly contagious, and there's no vaccine against it. And it's absolutely fatal. It is not survivable. So a person can have that for up to a year. That means COVID-19, a person would not have that for a year, right? You had the time it took for the antibiotics to work, and time for liquids to work, and a cup to cover over whatever you had left. Not so with this stuff that they have. Anyway, that's going to be a bad doozy. The CDC is aware of it too. I believe they've tried everything. Nothing has worked. All right. Let's go to another one there. Painfully sad is true. It is true. But you know what the Lord said? He would keep you from those things. Right? If you come out among the ways of whatever place you're in. If they're giving a protest, if everybody stood up and gave a protest in Washington, for, I don't know, maybe they wanted extra hours sleep in the morning. I could listen to them, but I would never emulate them. It's just me. All right, let's go to another one, shall we? Let's go back. Well, with that disease, right? Think of the mutations it would have to go through to jump to a human being. And it's already jumped to human beings. And it's not looking good. It isn't. It's just one of those end times things. And again, we're not the USA is not the origin point of it. It's not, nor is it the Middle East at this time. Mm-mm. Like, you guys have, come on, nobody has any questions on yesterday's topics, maybe? Somebody says, continued. Reaction. Am I familiar with the Bamoon project? It's a possibility. There is a contrived project called the Blue Moon Project. It existed at first with atoms, seeing how they reorganize themselves in certain conditions. So it maybe. But that's all I can say, right? What if Jesus came back and we're still struggling with some things? If you truly belong to him, right, then he'll break your struggle. You'll be free. Jesus is not, listen, a lot of people think that, do you guys think that God is coming back to look for perfection? Because I'll ask you this. What human being could ever define perfection? Hmm? What human being could ever define perfection? We can't. We can't do that. Anyway. In the Bible it says, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is also perfect. In what context is he talking about? He gave the context before. He gave it after. And he's not talking about doing everything flawlessly right. We strive for that, right? But we often stumble. That's what the blood of the Lamb is for. Can a person go beyond that? Yes, that's part of the final instructions. It's when a person goes beyond, right? Some of the things they previously have been contemplating, stuck in. Godzilla's moving around this time. You know, the new one. Oh, I say Godzilla. You see, my mind is drifting. Anyway, I'm not going there because I'm reading 5 screens at once. And let me give you guys one update. We have two threats right now, again, right? They're going to have to shut down some theaters. They just recently had these theaters open, right? That's what I've been doing, looking at these threats again. You guys are familiar with these shooters in theaters, correct? You are. Well, we will likely have something like that in the next couple of days. Again. Why do we always forget? Why do we always do that? You know, that sometimes it bothers me, how we can forget the safety of others so quickly. That does. It bothers me. These theaters are wide open, right? No security. None. No security. Some of this new tech that they put in the theaters has nothing to do with safety or quick exits. It has to do with entertainment. And we're going to have that problem again. We're going to have it again. The same exact problem. And how many times does that have to repeat itself until we finally realize everybody, right, is just simply not nice and that people will continue to do these things? They have mitigating techniques that they could utilize to stop that. Here we are again. And you know, kids are out of school. It is hot. And when it's hot and kids are out of school, they become quite aggressive. We also are in an election year. We're in an election year, right? So kids are involved with the news of this election. You're going to see young shooters. That's going to be highly distasteful for most. But you're going to see young shooters. And they're not going to stop. Kids have become somewhat rebellious, isolated. But they have access to everything. And are the parents checking behind them? Not quick enough. Someone said, Mike, you had that dream about a woman with a hat, with a white hat, lying in the street. Yes, I did. I sure did. I think you guys will. I think everybody will see that quite clearly. If you can remember it. If you can remember. It's the best way to tell your family it's the best way to tell your family that that is wanting to go to the movies. Well, I tell you what, we can't control the movement of others, right? You can always tell your family to be vigilant, to understand that what just happened to the president is likely going to continue to happen. And because tensions are rising with the youth, these mall shootings are going to continue. You know, there was a mall shooting yesterday. I do not believe that they ran a story about that anywhere. In fact, it's somewhat troubling. These young people who are shooting people, they're not covering the stories. They're just not doing it. But I'm going to cover the stories. Unless you look in your local blotter, you won't see it. You won't see it, but there's lots of crimes happening right now. I mean, it is unusually high. And every time crime is high, it's always connected to some sort of shift with people happens all the time, right? Most of these young people are highly influenced by topics of aliens. A lot of these young people, they always seem to tout that they are Nephilim. Do you know that? They're in the schools telling each other that they are Nephilim. Now I'm talking about public schools. Why would they tell their fellow students that they are Nephilim? Why? Why would they even say that? Who would even say something like that? It's not like they're, openly reading Zechariah Ascension or any topics about, those things. No. In this world where young people talk about aliens, why would they ever say they're Nephilim? A lot of this stuff comes from the music industry. It does. It's impressed upon those who listen to the songs. It degrades them. It will degrade a person far enough and wear a person down to the point where they cannot get back up on their feet. They're so exhausted. That person can't be vigilant. These are awful things that happen to people. That's why this country needs prayer. Europe needs prayer. And the Olympics is soon to happen. And they are running into security problems already. They know they can't cover everything. They can't do that. They already know that. And you guys imagine the Olympic ceremonies start. They have a show in the air with drones and things like that, but somebody has tampered with the equipment. Can you imagine the chaos that would ensue in that place? Just as certain things have brought this country to a close, like the assassination attempt to President Trump brought everything to almost a complete halt. Just as that brought us to a halt. Can you imagine at the Olympics a set of drones doing some alternate programmed thing, and all of a sudden explosions begin to happen? It was discussed. Or the major ways that the Olympics could be greatly compromised by those who are in the Olympics. How do they know this? Because they've had candidates who were supposed to be in the Olympics that they found out had super high ties with some deadly people, and they did not share the ideology of the U.S. They shared some devilish ideology. They're out there. They really are. But what do you do when people demand entertainment? What do? You can't, nobody can stop the Olympics. The people would try and hang the individual who would stop the Olympics, who would stop theaters from showing movies. Right? They would. And unfortunately, it's going to have to play through more than once before people actually begin to see and say to themselves, so I think I better pray. Right? Was that, Brother Mike, can you recommend any reasonable, cheap air quality detectors? Wait a minute. Let me go back. Goodness gracious. This thing. What's wrong with this mouse? I think his mouse is partially possessed. Organic compounds. And that type air purifier, this person saying, Brother Mike, can you recommend any reasonable, cheap air quality detectors for backyard type use, specifically for volatile organic compounds, VOCs, in close proximity to an airport with multiple large and medium-sized military fighters, jets, etc., taking off and landing, maneuvering on and off. Now to all all day for 10 days with another 20 days to go, causing vertigo nausea, marked increase in mental confusion. You know what? Some of that could be an onset, not from external chemicals, but from anxieties. So if I were you, I would do this. Because your Father in heaven has the power to mitigate anything that would ever happen to you. He does. He can cause any compound to become inert, to become nothing. He can do that. The real key is, can we obey him in this world? Now there's a question. Do we have the ability to obey him in this world? That's a question. It really is. Because obedience is a path for all God's provisions. Protection, grace, and mercy is on that path. Should anybody step on that path of obedience, everything you require of the Lord is right there in that path. And he will protect the steps you take. He will. He already said he would. Because he'll go before you as you walk. You need not fear when that happens. Need not. Now, the problem with air purifiers and filters is this. You do realize after about 10 days, the filter is no good. And it's not purifying anything. So if you happen to have an air purifier, you're going to have to give it special treatment every 10 days without fail. It means if you have a window air conditioner, which is essentially a filter, you'll have to have a window fan connected to it. You'll have to clean those elements often. Same thing with the rubber band. Remember those things and then pray accordingly. But most of all, pray the Lord strengthen you to stay within his will. That's key. It really is. It's key. Okay, folks, listen. We're gonna have an early exit because I'll likely be on at midnight. Well, you guys know about that deer disease. I hope you guys look that up, become familiar with that, because it did jump to humans. It did. I hope you guys have backed up your data. It's going to be another compromise. I'll put it in a window of about 2 to 3 days. And the midnight hour is reserved for things we normally cannot talk about with a broad audience in the daytime. So it'll be more specific in certain areas. All right, folks. Well, that's not good, is it? I hope you guys are vigilant. I really do. Listen, I'm going to see some of you at midnight. Not everybody, but some of you most definitely. We'll discuss some more things. At midnight, guys, listen, if you're broken, if you happen to have some of those oppressed times, you're still having those nightly experiences, right? One of the reasons for the midnight hour is that those things be broken in your life. Fully broken. People will always invite things they don't fully understand into their lives. They will. If you know how to handle it, to pray for them, to assist them when they do those things, that'd be of a great benefit to humanity during these times. And always keep in mind, all spiritual elements are coming forward. Nothing will be hidden. Not one thing. And all of you should have the strength to stand in that day. In the Bible it says, doing all you have the ability to do. Stand firm in that day. Stand firm. Is the disease going to make them aggressive? Well, it blinds them, number one. Right? A couple of parasites are involved. And it does take over the brain. It causes massive issues with the brain. It destroys the eyes. It looks like an advanced cataract. It's terrible. And it's going to spread. So hopefully you guys are ready for the arrival of it. It's hopping. Humans are finally being exposed to that. One other thing I'm not going to talk about has to deal with a different type of fungus, which is, by the way, supposed to be impossible. But, I see these as nothing more than plagues that form almost like in a consequence, or when people are really related, I'll say. We'll cover some of that tonight. We'll do that tonight at midnight. Not going too deep into there. But these diseases are hopping like crazy. And these plagues were described. They were described. And fungus from trees is not supposed to be able to jump to humanity. Somehow it locked into the human blood cell. And now fungus can grow on people. The same fungus that grows on trees can now grow on you. Or we already have a mildew issue in the USA. We already have a bed bug crisis in the USA. We already have that. Take note of those things. Be wise about them. And I'll see you guys next time right here at COT, which, by the way, is going to be probably, highly likely, at the midnight hour. Okay? At the midnight hour. I'm going to finish watching these guys, and I'm really praying that we can reverse some things. There's some very uncomfortable schedules that people are trying to keep they probably should not keep with the iffy Secret Service. Now assigned to both sides. It's going to get it could potentially get very ugly for a while. It could. Be expectant, don't dwell on it, but it should never shock you when that takes place. Be ready to assist others in truth. See you guys next time right here at the Council of Time. Lord willing.